a sea of blue. I can't stop thinking about you. The way you walk, the way you stand, the way you do you. Blueberry motherfucker, you. That's right, blue, blue, blue. Blueberry motherfucker, you. You act like you own the place. In the Cuban yard, you're far away. Blueberry motherfucker, you. Saving my nickels and dimes, taking my time so I can get my bone and structure from blueberry motherfucker, you. I know you're gonna produce. I got to save up, I gotta invest in you. Blueberry motherfucker, you. You are the best, cleaner than the rest. Blue, 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 sweet blue. You sexy motherfucker, you. We love you, we sure do. Drink you like blueberry juice. Blueberry motherfucker, you. I've seen many blue dogs, but none are like you. Blueberry motherfucker, you. You blueberry motherfucker, you. You got me waiting and waiting, gave me the blueberry motherfucker blues.
What is going on, Monday Bullet Live? What is going on, guys? We got one for you today. We're actually going to be talking about breeder talk, man. Breeder dialect. What is the meaning of certain things that are said in the breeding community? If you're brand spanking new, you're probably not going to know what people are talking about unless you ask around. We got half a die bully fan from Infamous. All right, man. All the way to from the Mariana Islands. We got A&W Dracula Kennels, Romania, England in the house. All right, man. We got Daniel, old person. What's up, Raul? Tapped in from Montana. What is going on, guys? Listen, let me bring my guy from the back, Michael Higginson. What is going on, bro?
What's up, fam? Yeah,
hey,
man,
Mike.
Go ahead.
Hey, no, I was just gonna say, give us a little background, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
I'm Michael Higginson from Creek Bank Kennel. We're out here in Valonia, Arkansas, trying to do the XL thing, man, and see what we can add to the XL class here in the future. Excited about tonight. Excited about the terminology. Looking forward to it.
All right, man. Good stuff. Listen, let's jump right into it, man. So, have you ever heard the term that dog was bred back? Like bred back. Like what does that mean to you, man, when somebody says the dog was bred back?
Bred back is inbred, isn't it?
Yeah. Some people think like what it means is like you bred back to the grandparent or bred back to this. At least from what I've understood, bred back means you've inbred the dog, that you're actually going back a generation or two. It was kind of hard for me to understand that when I first heard it for the first time. Freddie Estrevi saying, absolutely love the last picture of Blueberry on the intro. He is awesome. And Adam Fields saving my nickels and dimes, taking my time so I can get my bone instruction from. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Real quick, man. You know, I can't believe I forgot, man. I do have an announcement, and it's for my girl, Sunshine. And there's really not much to say. Let me just show you. Yeah. She is now officially a champion. So you will be seeing the champion, not mnemonic, but it isn't the title in front of her name going on. Now you know. She's
certified.
Yeah, she was unofficial before, but now she's definitely official. Caveman talking, referring back to what we were talking about, backbreeding. He's saying back to a parent, and no, that's not necessarily it. In fact, when you're saying back to a parent, and again, I'm not Mr. Know It All as far as the terminology, but from my understanding, it's inbreeding. In other words, inbred to his mom, or she's inbred to his dad. But backbreeding means like you've inbred it. You've inbred two dogs so much that you actually went back a generation. So dog is looking exactly like the grandparent, not even like the mother or the dad.
Well, that's the thing about the topic tonight, Ro. It's
Yeah.
like I think there's a lot of things that have similar meanings or even the same meanings but said different ways. And I don't know that the community is kind of tying all that together. So
Yes. Yeah, no, you hit it on the head, man. Thank you so much. People are saying congrats, nothing but love, man. Isarata Molero, Miss Christina Higginson in the house, Adam Fields, nothing but love, man. Freddie Strevy going on. I appreciate you. Yeah, listen, I've even come across breeders that either interpret the terms and put their own definition to it. So let's just talk about the more common ones. And I'm sure the community here can let us know if there's one that they want us to break down or that we've heard of or not. One that I've always heard of from the very beginning is tight blood, right? Tight blood. And really, at least to me, tight blood, the meaning of tight blood is you have a lot of homozygotic pairs. To me, tight blood means you have a high koi. You let me know, Mike. What is tight blood? What is it? What is a ring? What bells does a ring in your head, man?
well, I think you said it, but I think that's the thing. So that's what it actually is, but I don't know that people really get that. So when you line breed dogs, as you breed back to your own blood and you line breed, you're
Yes,
getting tighter and tighter the further you line breed. But what that actually means, and that's what you're saying, Raul, is when you're talking about COI, when you're talking about your dog's coefficient of inbreeding,
yes,
you're looking at homozygotic pairs versus heterozygotic pairs, and
yes,
that's what people don't get. I think it's whenever you get to a higher COI, you're increasing in the number of homozygotic pairs.
yes.
That's what makes the COI percentage go up. It's the percentage of homozygotic pairs. And the further you get up in that, the further you are into tightening that blood as far as line breeding.
So let's break that down into layman's term. When we say homozygotic pair, what we're saying is pairs that are identical. Remember, you
Identical.
get
Yeah.
you get one gene from mom and you get the same gene from dad. And then what's going to happen is, um, depending if it's a dominant or recessive gene, of course, right? Let's just keep it real basic. What happens is when you bring them together, if they're identical, more likely than not, you as a male or a female, the more or the more incidence of homozygotic or identical pairs, the higher the koi. That makes you what is called prepotent. And all that means is you're able to push forward your traits. Whereas if you have a dog that doesn't have homozygotic pairs, it's going to be a lot harder for them to push their traits forward, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Even to add to that. So, and you and I have got to see this a little more directly lately, looking at some of the things we've been looking at. Um, Whenever you're looking at, the genetics of your dog, when you're looking at the COI and you're looking at the map, you can actually see just right at a first glance that the dog is an outcross or it's not. Because if it is, it's going to be very heterozygotic. There's
yes,
there's not going to be a lot of pairs, and so you'll be able to see that on your chart very quickly
you
on your
you
MBAR.
could also see it without even seeing the chart. And what I mean by that is, I ask you, hey, your girl, what's her koi? Oh, she's a 7. Okay. You already know, at least for this breed,
Yeah.
more likely than not, her pairs are not going to be identical, man.
Very few.
Real
Yeah.
quick, man, let me answer Brian Cooper. He's asking, my Excel's excessive shedding, should I be worried? Brian, I'm going to tell you right now, it's kind of winter time. And kind of like my dog's winter coats are coming in and they're shedding excessively. They're pretty much getting rid of the summer coat and getting, you're going to notice that the hairs should be thicker and more dense. If it's excessive to the point where the dog is getting bald patches on the body, and that's a whole different story. I suggest you go to the vet. But usually around this time, usually it happens a little sooner, but this year, winter, I don't know, man. We get a couple of cold days and then it goes away. So it hasn't been consecutive in my neck of the woods. Real quick, Hollywood, I need you to have the new member tab ready. We got a new member in Kendra's Kennel. Kendra,
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
it's claro que sí. We're here every Monday at 7 p.m. CST. Thank you for joining us. And remember, we're going to answer your questions before you get off and make sure to ask away. We got Dietrich Hagen saying, what's going on, my peeps? The new champ is here. Congrats to everyone involved. Number love, man. Appreciate you. Sid 1026 says, has anyone had trouble with number? Can no longer see my auto ships. Just wonder if anyone else has a problem. Oh, you talking about new vet. What you got?
I was just going to tell you that's what he was talking about, new vet.
Okay, so has anyone had trouble with new vet? Can no longer see my auto ships. Sid 1026, do me a favor, man. If you haven't downloaded QBN app, go ahead and download it. Click contact us and talk to me directly. Whatever's going on, I'm going to make sure I handle it for you, man. If anybody else is having any type of issue, make sure to download QBN app. Click on contact us, and I'm going to be getting your messages directly. All right.
Raul, I wanted to add to the shedding thing real quick before we get too far from it.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of that can be dietary too. It doesn't have to necessarily be an allergy, but it can be just what you're feeding your dog. Some things make them shed more than others. I know when I was feeding the dogs raw during, before the summer, I didn't have hardly any shedding at all. And just about all the kibbles I use, even the ones I think are the better ones, I have a lot more shedding.
Yeah, it could be the preservatives, tocopherols, and things like that. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what causes it, but I will say when I did switch my dogs from raw to kibble, we did notice some shedding. I will say it did improve once we put them on that salmon and sweet potato formula. But nonetheless, kibble, guys, kibble is just one of those things where I comprehend in the world that we live in, some people can only feed kibble. And that's because, they're working so many hours, this and that, man, I totally get it. But if you were able to feed raw, even if it was raw with kibble, it would be so much better for your dog than just feeding kibble. It's really as simple as that. Infamous says pedigree makes my dog shed so much. Well, if you really look at the ingredient list in pedigree, you're going to notice, man, and no shot at pedigree, but I mean, I call it as I see it. It's really a bag of flour, man. And, you can't expect the dog to thrive with it. Dogs are closer to wolves, and, just having fresh meat pretty much on a daily is going to trump any type of processed food out there. So talk to me about terminology, guys. Oh, okay. This is Rodney. Okay, man. Number love, Rodney. Number love, man. Brian Cooper says his puppy cannot handle raw. And that's fair too, man. I can tell you there are people that'll switch over to raw and the dog is allergic to chicken. And yeah, the chicken allergy on raw cannot be the best. And I would agree with that. That's why whenever we do transitions to raw, we do it nice and slow rather than a one-shot deal. Otherwise, man, they're going to be spraying all over the house, man. That's as simple as it's going to be. So let's get back on topic here real quick, man. What are some of the terms that are used in this community or any breeding community for that matter, that, you know, would be good to talk about and identify. Now, let me say this to kind of let you guys know where we're going with this whole deal. The reason I want to talk about this and get definitions down is because you guys don't know this yet, but Mike, myself, and Kyle, we've spoken about next week's topic. And next week's topic, we're going to be talking about chromosome 18. Chromosome 18. For those of you that actually have downloaded, or I'm sorry, have used Embark, and you're able to go into a section, and I'm going to see if I could bring my Embark up. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring my Embark up so you can see what I'm talking about. And I kind of want to give you guys this so you could understand where we're going with all this. So are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it. Okay. So, all right. So let me go all the way out. Let me show you guys how you get to this screen whenever you're on Embark. It's really important because for those of you that don't know, there's many pathways for bone density, right? A lot of people are looking for extreme featured dogs, and you want dogs that show the type of bone, right, that you're looking for. And so it's really important to know which are the pathways through genes that are going to give you thick bones. So basically, this is my girl Blue. I lost her. All right, tell you what, I'll go to my boy Fireball. All right, we'll just go to my boy Fireball. So you click on him, and what you're going to do is you're going to click on Health for those of you that have Embark, and you go here where it says Genetic Diversity. You click on that, and it's going to bring you here. So Fireball's Koi is 11. So he's not the most prepotent dog out there. And then what's going to happen is, if you notice, there is 1 through 38. These are the amount of chromosome each dog has. And wherever you see orange, it basically means that's where the dog is homozygotic. Remember, we were talking about the homozygotic pairs versus heterozygotic. So if you go to 18 right here, right, basically my dog is homozygotic here and in this area here. Everything else, he's pretty much heterozygotic, which is the white area. And we're going to show you guys where in this chromosome you want to land in order to have more bone. But
before we go into that, you go ahead. But I wanted to clarify something before we get off this screen. Whenever you want me to. So I didn't realize this until we really talked about it. So at looking at this, you might think that you have a white bar, and then the orange stripes are illustrated in that bar for the homozygotic pairs. But what's actually there is the white is actually has meaning too.
yes,
So the white is the heterozygotic, and then wherever the orange is the homozygotic. So the white is not just the background; it's actually the heterozygosity mixed in with the homozygosity, right?
that is correct. If you were to look at his chromosome 9, it is completely heterozygotic. If you look at his chromosome 11, it is completely heterozygotic. He's got no homozygosity in 9 or 11, right? But 9 and 11 don't refer to bone. 18 does. 18 is a main chromosome that's going to be an indicator for bone. So the reason I'm trying to get all these definitions down is because when we get into this next week and we start showing you, okay, go to your chromosome 18. Are the pairs here or are the pairs outside of that box? Oh no, they're in the box. Okay, then your dog has that pathway to gain bone, right? Really important to know. Really important to know. Also, what you feed your dog is really important because chromosome 18 has a lot to do with a particular protein. And believe it or not, certain things, like, for example, zinc, is one of those things that will actually let the body know when it has enough of it. It lets the body know that it has enough minerals to go ahead and make the bone dense. So that's really important to know, guys.
So you're saying that if the dog system is introduced to zinc, it increases the propensity for bone,
Yes,
the capability of bone growth.
yes,
Okay.
yes, because zinc is going to be used as a precursor for all those proteins and whatnot that are going to make up the bone. You see, bone mineralization, and I'm going to give you a little background on it. Bone mineralization was studied ever since the 1850s because they were trying to make bigger bulls and bigger cows with more meat and more milk and all that. And that's how this study has come about, because chromosome 18, it may differ depending on the animal. So say, for example, in humans, it's not chromosome 18. Yet we have less chromosomes than dogs, believe it or not. The same goes with bulls and whatnot. But what they've identified is that particular protein, wherever it appears, regardless which chromosome, it's directly related to the density of the bone. So if you're thinking about pairing and you want to use a stud and they happen to have embark and they could send you this information, it is priceless, because now you're able to kind of put it together and give yourself the best shot at producing bone. Let me
I
go
really
real.
love this. I'm excited about getting into that.
Yeah, man. Me too, man. We're definitely going to be going down a rabbit hole. I'll tell you that. Real quick, we got a Sucker Free World says, my dogs are on raw. They don't shed at all. There you go. Adam Fields, mixed tocopherols are synthetic vitamin E. What are your thoughts? Anything synthetic going into a dog, in my opinion, is bad, bro. And again, listen, I understand the kibble industry. They need a product that's going to have shelf life. I totally get it. But you know what I'm saying? We're too used to going the lazy way about it. And not even lazy. I know a lot of people work. They just don't have the time to do kibble. I mean, to do raw. But yeah, man, anything synthetic, I don't know. Koi is one that's confusing, says Christina Higginson. Miss Christina Higginson, koi is the coefficient of inbreeding. And what it means is, it means what percentage of you are inbred. So let me give you an example. Let me bring up that screen again. So this particular map we're looking at off of my boy Fireball. My boy Fireball has a koi of 11, which means only 11% of the possible space and all these chromosomes are filled by that color orange you see, which means those are identical pairs, right?
Right. So that means 89% of all these lines that you
is
see
all white.
is white.
Yes.
Or that off-white color. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is
yeah. And only 11% of it is orange. So the higher the koi, the more you're going to have these bars filled with that orange. The reason that's important is because, let me just go into a hypothetical here real quick. So say, for example, you see these three lines right here, these three black lines. Let's say that those three black lines, and again, this is completely hypothetical. I can't, this is just made up so I could give you an example. Say if you had orange in any one of these three lines, it means that your dog is going to be more muscular. Just an example. The fact that Fireball is heterozygotic in that particular chromosome 11, it means he doesn't have the orange where the indicators need to be in order to gain more muscle. You see what I mean? So whereas, let me find,
and
whereas,
also,
for example, if the same was true, and this is just an example, if the same was true with 29, then look, he's got orange that makes it all the way to 29, right there to that line. And so that's an indicator of muscle. Oh, okay. So basically, the higher koi you have, the more odds you have of these orange bars or orange coloring falling in the areas you want them to fall. The bad thing is that the higher the koi, these orange bars could also fall in the bad areas you don't want them to fall in. So that's the win when you have high koi. That's also what's not good when you have high koi.
When you
If
get
that
too high,
makes,
yeah.
yeah, if it's too high, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think also to clarify there, Raul, so COI, and that's my wife that's asking. So, honey, what COI is it's basically like if you're outcrossing, you're getting away from breeding these dogs that are of the same lineage. If you're line breeding, you're breeding dogs together that are of the same genetics, and when you're outcrossing, you're getting further and further away from that blood being the same. And if you're line breeding, you're bringing that bud closer and closer together, which would closer together, what, as we explained, what that actually means is you're increasing the homozygosity in these pairs. You're making the orange on those charts heavier.
Right. When you inbreed, you make the orange more concentrated. When
Right.
you outcross, you have less orange and more white. Less likely to fall in the good places, but it's also less likely to fall in the bad places. And that's the reason why when people inbreed so much and crazy things come up like kink tails and heart murmurs and liver issues and kidney issues, they immediately outcross. And what happens is the probability of them landing in the good and bad places reduces, and you're able to clear whatever's afflicting your yard at that time. Let's see. Good Brothers Kennel saying late, but what's up, Bully fam? Nothing much, man. We're prepping you. Go ahead, Mike.
What would you say? What would be a good indication? I mean, I know there's several, but just to talk about a few indications that you could get, that you could see to know that, as you're line breeding or inbreeding, when you've gotten too far. I know there's
That's an excellent.
there's breeding depression, and
Yes.
there's kink tails. There's all these traits that you're trying to stay away from that have been reincorporated or incorporated because you've gone too far. But what are some of the things people need to look for in these cases, so that they know, like, all right, I've pushed it as far as I can. I need to start backtracking a little bit.
Well, I will say this. One of the early indicators that you may or may not have. Here's the deal. Sometimes people inbreed in a yard or the koi is already very high, right? So if you're inbreeding two dogs, say one is at 27 and the other one is at 30, in my opinion, that's a bit high. Because you're inbreeding. I mean, you're bound to get like low 40s, high 30s. One of the things that you may start seeing is specifically in your embark, it'll start showing you some disease processes that neither parent had. So neither parent shows, for example, neither parent has CRD1 or CRD4. We both know it doesn't affect our breed. But if both parents are clear on that and the puppies, boop, it just pops up, that's a sign that
Health variants start showing up that weren't there before.
Yes, sir.
This is another reason why embark is so important, man. How would you know? And I don't know how people even have any defense at all to say that embark is not essential. To me, it's imperative, because how would you know that? How could you possibly know that without embark?
Well, here's the truth. Okay, so the same way when you inbreed, you're able to get features that you didn't have before. So say you wanted to get more bone, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to inbreed and see if I get more bone, right? And there's actually a possibility that you do by inbreeding, because what's going to happen is those yellow bars are going to get enlarged. And if they fall on those indicators, guess what? You might have created a pathway that's going to give you more bone. Well, the same could be held true with disease processes, right? If those bars fall in the disease process, you're going to see those are going to be some of the early indicators. Another indicator that might be telling you you're going a little too far is you start noticing structural differences. Now we're talking bone, right? Even in the cranium, right? You'll start seeing exaggerated features, but not just exaggerated to what you want, but more exaggerated to where, the nose, all of a sudden you lose an inch on the length of a nose. Man, that's pretty significant. Maybe losing a quarter of an inch, half an inch, but a full inch in one generation, maybe you're going a little too far. Those are indicators. How do you know you've gone too far? Well, you're going to get something that's called breeding depression. And what's going to happen is the pups, they're going to be more feeble. Their health is not going to be as vibrant as the earlier litters that you might have had. You might lose more puppies in that litter than you ever had before. They're smaller. It's a smaller litter. They're not as there's a medical term for it, which I can't think of right now, which means they're full of life. And you're going to notice that that's going to be somewhat depressed. You're going to notice that the previous generation, say mom in that case, looks so much better than those pups did, right? And the pups were way smaller than she was at that very age, say at 10 or 12 or 14 weeks. That's how you know you got breeding depression in your hands.
So you're breeding in qualities, you're breeding towards more bone density, you're breeding towards this bigger head, towards these certain features in your bulls, and then you're progressively with each generation getting further into what you're trying to do, and then all of a sudden you'll realize that, well, now instead of getting bigger with this next litter, we've gotten smaller.
Yes, it's going to be so detrimental. You're not going to want people to you're going to be heartbroken, but that's, you're going to be like, man, I can't even sell these puppies like regular pups because they're just, you know what I'm saying? It is so evident that it's just not there. And that's when you've gone too far, and that's breeding depression. Also, those pups may have fertility issues, so they may be sterile. It's a possibility. Not 100%, but it's possible. We have a question here. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Brian Cooper is asking, how do I get my puppy embarked? This is the Embark website. This is not the only genetic test out there, guys. There's UC Davis. There's, I forget, something panel, wisdom panel. There's several out there. This is the one I use. If I want something more specific and more whatever, I'll contact another company that can give me that. But if you're just looking for health, if you're just looking for general information on your dog, I can tell you I've used Embark. I can suggest it. Is it perfect? In certain things, it's not. Like projecting weight, it's not perfect. Projecting weight, and some people will send in Embark, and when it comes back, it says your dog is 20% pit and 80% bulldog. They're not the most accurate there, because you got to realize they're going off of certain markers. And also, in addition, our breed has not finished gelling yet. In fact, the stud books are still open. So you might get more variance than, say, you will with, say, German Shepherds. German Shepherds all have a little bar in a particular line that only that breed in particular has. In our case, it's a little bit more complicated because you got to hit several different areas, since we're a composite breed to begin with. So
I know you had said something, I don't know, it's probably been a year ago now, but it stuck with me, and I still agree to this day. There are other options for genetic testing, but there's such a small percentage of the community that is using genetic testing now. And I do think that a great deal to do with QBN and this platform, but also, probably some other sources as well. I think people are becoming more aware of it now. It's being talked about more. You get in these show rings, and you talk to people about dogs, and get to rapping about different things. People know what it is. That a lot of them are uninformed, but they do know, whereas just a few years ago they didn't. But I think it's a great idea, as you said in the past, that hey, we can get as complicated as we want to with this, but it's a good place to start. with Embark, and it also works better as a community if we're all kind of using the same thing, so that we can, I don't know, compare notes
Definitely.
and look over this type of stuff. So
No, definitely. And it's what we're going to teach here, like in these coming weeks. I'm telling you right now, if you've already embarked your dog, you want to be familiar on how to get that information, because I'm going to show you certain areas you're going to look at that are pathways for your dog to actually have bone. Um, and not if one pathway doesn't have it, it's not the end of the world. There's other avenues to it, but that is particularly one avenue in chromosome 18. Real quick, man. Let me stop everything real quick, man. We got Ronnie F. He says, late to the party, got my newborn little girl learning with us tonight. Ronnie
right.
F., nothing but love, man. Congrats to you and to your family. Kyle is away from the controls in the back, so either way.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
Right, that's what we do for new members, and we're welcoming your little girl on here as such, man. Nothing but love for you, man.
Start them young, baby.
Yeah, you got to start them young. Absolutely. QBN all the way, man. Listen, we got Adam Fields. Yeah, Adam Fields, man, just loving it. Ronnie F. There you go. Miss Christina Higginson wants to know, what does outcross mean? And Miss Higginson, outcross is whenever one dog is bred to a dog that has no relation to it. Okay. Now, they can look similar, and that's, I'm talking about phenotypically. In other words, on the outside, they may have heads that are similar and bodies that are similar. But when you go to the pedigree, you go back, at least 4 generations, they don't have any common denominator in the background. And
as far as bloodlines. So like if you had like techno lines, and then you had Gotti lines, well, those dogs are not genetically related. So you put them together, it would be an outcross breeding. If you have Gotti lines on the dam side and on the sire side, then you've got some COI elevation there, and you've got some homozygosity, which is a little bit of line breeding there.
That is absolutely correct, man. Jared Malero is saying, do you take the breeder's dog DNA test kits on Embark? I do. I will say I test not just my dogs. I test my pups. I believe once you order 5 or more, the price really goes down on each one, like $30. Yeah, we got congrats over here. You got it.
Do you have to keep those when you order them in bulk like that? Do you need to refrigerate them or put them in a cool, dry place or anything particular? Or?
I mean, don't put it somewhere where the sun is hitting it, obviously.
Right.
But as long as you have it inside the house, you're good. No biggie.
There are some deals for sure. You get up. I think actually incrementally you can go into a better price range a few different times. Like if you get 5 and then 10 and then 20 and then 50, I think it continues to drop.
Yeah. The more you get, and then not only that, I could tell y'all, we've already done like 70 of them. I want to say here. Let me show you guys. Like I said, we do lottie-dottie everybody, and we started doing them, I want to say about a year and a half ago. So we had everyone in the kennel, but then we started doing all pups. So here, I'll show you. If I go all the way back out to my dogs, right? Here you go. There it is. My dogs. I got 72 embarks done. Yeah. So yeah, I would scroll through here, and here you can see litters that we had. You see the pups there and their embarks in there, right? And then also you can see a lot of the other pups, but also a lot of our newer additions are here as well. Here's Champion Sunshine with a Koi of 20, her brother Patron, Koi 19, et cetera, et cetera. I see we have another question. Miss Higginson, you keep asking away because you seem to be asking the right questions. Let me tell you. She says, what does it mean when I hear y'all say hybrid? She put hyper vigor, but maybe my pronunciation is not the best. It's hybrid vigor.
It's probably auto text. It's hard to type what you want it to say too.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it does that too. So this is what happens, Miss Higginson, with hybrid vigor. Say, for example, my girl Sunshine, right? Like, let's go ahead and bring Champion Sunshine since, we're talking about her and whatnot. So, this girl right here, it is quite possible she has hybrid vigor, right? What does hybrid vigor mean? It means that her dad and mom, right? They are not related within 4 generations of each other. And even if they were related within four generations, all they have is think about it, that's a great great grandfather in the background, right? So that's really not up front. So what ends up happening is you breed these two dogs, especially when you have one with high koi, and when you outcross it, it's almost like that tight blood that we were talking about before, which means high homozygosity. It's like the flower blossoms, right? The dog is, and we're going to talk more breeder terms, the dog outproduces himself. So the male has a son that is better than him, has a daughter that is better than him. And the same could be true with the dam. She outproduced herself. She has a male or a son or daughter that is better than her. The thing about hybrid vigor is you increase heterozygosity. In other words, different pairs rather than homozygosity, which is identical pairs.
So
Now,
layman's terms on that, right?
yeah,
So
break it down. Now,
if okay, so when you have that hybrid vigor, your blood's already tight, and then you're doing an outcross breeding, and by outcrossing, you're instead of getting tighter, you're getting looser. And when you're looser, that tight blood blooms into this beautiful production oftentimes, which is better than the mother and the father.
that's
But
it.
when you're loosening that blood, as we said earlier, you're lessening the percentage of homozygosity, which was the orange in those charts of the chromosomes. You're lessening the percentage of orange and increasing that off white, which is heterozygosity, which happens with an outcross. And the smaller those pairs get, the slower your COI gets.
And the harder it is for that pup to reproduce itself. It
Right,
loses prepotency.
right.
Now, here's the deal. Am I going to be able to reproduce dogs like Sunshine? Well, my response is yes. I can always inbreed Sunshine, right? So it would be really important, say, for me to breed Sunshine to a dog that, if it's going to be an outcross, phenotypically looks a lot like her. Now, if I wanted to reproduce dogs like her, I don't even have to inbreed her. All I got to do is find a dog that comes from her line. She looks a lot like her grandfather, Colossal. So if I find a Colossal grandson and I line breed it to her, now, right, what's going to happen to that koi? It's going to increase because a lot of the areas where she has that orange in, or not a lot, but in several of those areas, it's going to increase because so too does that Colossal grandson that will be going
You're
into her.
adding in more of the same blood that she already had because it's a dog
Yes.
that's of her kin.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
That's exactly it, man.
yeah.
Let me see here. Stay Fresh Bully says, for people ordering the Embark test, should they order the mixed breed test or the pure breed test? I say the pure breed. If you're a breeder, or even if you're not a breeder, if you bought, say, a purebred dog, purebred American Bully, there's no need to buy the mixed breed one. But again, it's totally up to you. Adam Field says, once you dig into it, you want the more complex genetic testing. Absolutely. Omar McCallum says, how do you feel about breeding a long pocket to a shorter pocket? Long meaning length from chest to tail. I think that's perfectly fine. I think so. Let me say this. There are a lot of pathways for structuring bone. I'm not talking about bone density at this point. I'm talking about structuring it, right? So, for example, you're going to see certain pockets that have a particular head type, and you may see other pockets that have a different type of head type. If you were to cross them, right, you may get one head type or the other, or you may get neither, right? In the time that you get neither, or you want the opposite head type that you got, it's going to take more than one generation for you to be able to structure that. Okay. Because those polygenetic chains could be thousands long. And if you got a lot of heterozygotic pairs in there, it's not going to switch over that. It's going to switch over the homozygotic ones, the identical ones, if that makes any sense. Freddie Strave is saying, great advice, Michael. Pat Gorey says, how do you know what pairs match up to what traits? Well, Pat Gorey, that's what we're going to be talking about. And that's what I've been busting my tail researching. And we have identified a particular gene in chromosome 18. And I'm going to show you where in chromosome 18 it is. And all that information on the next live. Right now, this is just a precursor to that, right? So one thing I noticed, Pat, is you're asking excellent questions. You're not a member. For as little as $5 a month, you could become a member. We have a link down in the description below, and you could join us. And we're going to answer all member questions before the live is done, man. Same goes with you, J.R. Malero. It's about time for you to become a member, man. Nothing but love for you, man. What's Michael's social media? Creek Bank Kennel on Facebook, but I'm gonna let Michael go ahead and tell you.
Yeah, it's Creek Bank Kennel on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Shane Caress. Excellent. What does bottleneck mean? What does bottleneck mean when breeding? Yes, bottleneck means you have too much of a particular blood, and you need to go outside of that blood because the koi. So let me rewind. In a while back, I was asked, what is considered too high of a koi, right? And I feel that 27 and above is a little too high to inbreed. But having a koi in your yard that averages around 27 for this breed, I feel is okay. Okay, you're a little high up there, but is okay. But say time passed and you kept line breeding, and now the average koi in your yard is 34. Well, that is a bit high. You could run into a situation where all of a sudden you start getting king tails or diseases you never saw before or that sort of thing. So bottleneck doesn't mean your koi is already up at 36, but say you're at 25 across the board, you got 4 females and a male, and they're all related to each other. Yeah, you pretty much bottlenecked yourself. Now you're going to have to outcross in order to open that blood up. You want to say something?
Yes, I do. So to add to that, to just a little more, I guess this is it might not be our only jam, but it is part of our jam where I think I explain things a little different than you, and I've had to learn this from the ground up. Didn't know anything about it when I started, and so I got a good understanding to try to make it. I don't know. I don't want to say easier to understand because you're explaining it great, but I think people that don't have a little bit of education on it, sometimes they miss it. But also you're talking about XLs. And so I've also learned that depending on which class of bully you're breeding, because of the different size of gene pool with the XL, we've got the Mastiff in there,
Yes.
and the smaller bullies do not. And so because they don't, they have a smaller gene pool, and they actually can have the koi elevated more than we can in the XL and still be in a safe range. You know a little bit about that, Raul?
Yes. Yes. Basically what Mike is saying is one of the reasons why I pivoted. So the XL, when the American Bully was being created or still in its initial stages, once 2004 came around, there were, I want to say, 4 major classes or 3 major classes. One of them was the American Bully XL. What ends up happening is breeders, and I hate to say this, man, because it sounds like, but it's the truth. Breeders will cheat in order to get to where they want to get to. You see, this is the thing about genetic testing. Genetic testing, I believe, in the next 3 to 5 years is going to break your legs if you try and cheat. Because if you try breeding, say, the American Bully, say, to a bulldog, it's going to show on the genetic test. You know what I'm saying? If you try breeding the American Bully to a Mastiff, it's going to show on the genetic test. So long story short, breeders decided they wanted to cheat and they wanted to make bigger dogs, right? How do you make bigger dogs? Well, you grab this bully and you breed it to a Mastiff, breed it to that, bull Mastiff over there or whatever. So what ends up happening is you've tainted the blood. The reason I say you've tainted the blood is because I line bred American Bullies, XLs for the last 10 years. And one of the reasons I had to pivot is because every time you outcross, if you go far back enough, you're going to run into a Mastiff. All it takes is 5% of that. In my opinion, Mastiff blood is stickier than even pit bull terrier blood, and pit bull terrier blood is pretty sticky. And so, yeah, that was one of the reasons why I took a step back and said, I want to go back to the standards. I want to make sure that we start pulling from a gene pool that doesn't have Mastiff in order to bring it in. Brayman Bullies is asking, can you go into detail a little on the difference in embark koi and the reading someone like Jerry gives? Yeah, I've spoken to Jerry about this several times. What Jerry gives you is a calculated koi. And the way you do a calculated koi, and we did a live here on that a while back, is you do coefficient of relation. Okay, so depending on the coefficient of relation, whatever that may be, you then divide that by 4, and that gives you a projected koi. Now, Jerry can give you a projected koi, say, in a litter, and there's going to be variances in that litter, meaning you're going to have a pup that's going to be higher, you're going to have another pup that's going to be lower. But if you were to add up the entirety of the litter and divide it amongst them, you should get an average really close to that. But I always say that the embark koi for the individual dog is going to be more precise, because the koi he's giving is for the litter. Like I said, the one for embark is going to give it precise for each particular pup in that litter.
It's good to give you a range, in my
Yes.
opinion. Like, hey, if you're pairing dogs and you're speculating, where you might be on your COI of the litter, I think it's good for that.
Yep.
But embark is so cheap for what it does. To me, when it comes time to actually make that decision, you need to go ahead and embark, because I've seen litters with puppies with a COI as high as 20 and then a COI as low as 10 in the same
Yes.
litter.
Same litter.
And as we talked about earlier, if you're picking and choosing which dogs to pair up, and you let's say you have a litter of pups and you're running a program and trying to pick your keeper.
Exactly.
Well, if you did a breeding for these certain attributes, and a few of the puppies have, let's say 3 of the puppies have the bone that you bred these 2 dogs together for, and so you're picking between those 3. Well, if you pick by guessing, and you pick the one that has 10
Hybrid
COI,
vigor. Hybrid vigor.
that's
Yep.
right. Instead of picking the one that's 20, you've given away your best chip in that litter. You've actually, if you didn't keep the dog with the highest COI, not that you have to keep the highest one necessarily, but
Right.
but if those out of, say, 3 of the 10 puppies that have what you bred for in that breeding, and you just pick the one that's looks the best to you or whatever, and you pick the one with the lowest COI,
You just don't know.
you may
You just
have
don't know.
wasted that breeding. Yeah.
You just don't know. I truly believe, man, with the advent now of AI more and more, and apps like the Doghouse app, and I'm just throwing one out there. There's many more coming.
That's a great
Bully
app.
Pedix. Bully PDX supposedly is going to be adding a lot of the functionalities, I think, that possibly you're seeing in Doghouse and whatnot. I can see in 3 to 5 years where every puppy must be embarked. Otherwise, people are not going to spend the $5,000 or whatever on the pup. And then in addition to that, it makes perfect sense. Think about this. If you have a female with high koi, I have a female I just bought. I drove all the way to Virginia. I bought her from King Pope Kennels. She has super high koi because she's super, super inbred. He did that on purpose, and I acquired her for that very thing. Now, if I'm going to buy a puppy, say, from your litter, Mike, and, I'm blind in that I don't know what the kois are, it behooves me, say, to get a dog with a koi between 12 and 18 so they could absorb what this girl has to give.
Mm-hmm.
I may go in there and get the dog that's got a koi of 26. It might not ruin what I'm trying to do, but it's not going to be as efficient if you get what I'm saying. So definitely, I think the time will come. I think we're a lot closer to that time than we've ever even thought about. Everything takes time when building a great dog. That's absolute. What's the difference between the purebred test and the mixed breed test on Embark? Chris Del Cambry, you're going to have to ask Embark on that, my friend. I think it has more to do with the markers for purebred breeds. Maybe, I don't know, man. Maybe they're more specific or less specific with the mixed breed. I am not sure. Bama Elite, go ahead. Well,
I'm
sorry.
going to say, before we forget, I know we get rolling on questions, but you had brought up earlier the zinc and how the zinc affects the bone.
Yes.
And I didn't want us to forget to bring that back up and how that applies to people that use NuVet.
Yes. One thing about NuVet, guys, look, if you look on here, I'm sure y'all can read it. There's zinc on there, right? And not just zinc, you also have phosphorus, potassium, calcium, and selenium. So on chromosome 18, the particular protein that is triggered in order to make the bone more dense is triggered by two things: copper and zinc. Now, copper, you're rarely going to find in any supplement, and that's because copper toxicosis is something that can happen very easily. A dog can become intoxicated over copper. But zinc is another pathway to trigger that particular bone density, right? So what I've been telling you guys for years about kibble, denaturing nutrients, proteins, minerals, because they're cooked at so high. This is one of the reasons why so many people are having results or getting such good results when NuVet, without even knowing. And that has to do because that particular pathway is being activated by zinc. Bama Elite is saying, so you want to do a line breeding to the same line of the dog with the phenotype you want so that you can knock out the hybrid vigor, correct? Yes. If you're trying to get rid of hybrid vigor, you must line breed, tight line breed or line breed. Or if you don't have access to that, or say, for example, let me give you an example. So my girl Sunshine, right? She is very particular in that no other puppy in her litter, in my opinion, looks like her, right? She took a lot after her grandfather, Colossal, in my opinion, right? So say, for example, I reach out to breeders that have Colossal grandsons or whatever, and it just doesn't fit. It's not a good fit, I feel, because one thing about Sunshine is, even though she is a Colossal granddaughter, she is not as bulky as most Colossal grandkids are, and she's definitely more ripped. That's not to say that she's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not to say that she's not muscular, guys. I mean, if you know anything about Sunshine, she could bring it, but she's also very ripped. So say I decided I want her version of dogs with that sort of rip. The way I would go about it is I would probably breed her to a male that looks very similar to her, and then grab the male out of that litter that looks most like her, and I'm just going to inbreed him into her. And that's how I'm going to recreate Sunshine as best as I can. There's many ways to skin a cat. There's many ways to make it happen. But yes, one way in doing it is doing it through line breeding. Bama Elite. Bama, yeah. And this Trayvon, man, number love for you. Real quick, Kyle, get that yep, you got it ready. Big balls McGraw,
Pues claro
91.
que sí, cabrón.
Claro que sí. We do this every Monday at 7 p.m., bro. Nothing but love for you. Miss Christina, you know what, Miss Higginson? I think I'm gonna have to
My wife's on a roll tonight.
I'm gonna have to send her something, man, because she's on a roll tonight, man. What is the rule of thumb for breeding when it comes to koi? Is it high to low or what? This is another phenomenal question. So, say for example, you're a new breeder, and let's say you have two females, and let's say your female's koi is one has 9 and the other one has 8. Relative to this breed, those are lower kois, meaning they're not prepotent. They're not gonna. You can't count on them to push forward their look. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Okay, it's not the end of the world if you're in that situation.
These are what to go with terms. These are what's referred to as bridge dogs.
Yes, this is a bridge dog. This is a dog. Actually, I'm going to make up a new term today. Those are referred to, in my opinion, as sponge dogs. I'm going to tell you why right now. When a dog's koi is that low, you can more than likely find yourself a stud with a koi of, say, 27 out there. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. So think about it. Your female's koi is 18. This dog that's going to be going into her, his koi is 27.
Hers is 8 or 9, right? I got you.
Right. His is 3 times more than what her koi is. Yeah. So those frequencies, right? Remember them little orange bars? His frequencies are a lot more than hers. So she's going to absorb like a sponge what he's about to throw into her. And
what that means is that if you had a 10 pup litter, the probability, because everything in genetics is the probability, right?
That's it.
It's the probability of the majority of those puppies, if not all of those puppies, looking like dad or a better version of dad is highly probable. Whereas a dog with a lower COI, or if she had a higher COI, there wasn't
right,
that variation between the two of them, it might not absorb the male's look, the sire's look as much.
You could not have said it any better. And this is why it is important for you to know what your dog's koi is. That way, you know, if you want to absorb from a male, or if you're female, like that female I bought, I can tell you, I'm willing to bet she's in the high 30s, low 40s. So when it's time to breed her, I need a male with a lower koi. I don't need another male that's as high as her so they could clash. That's not the way to do it. You need to come to lower koi. Now, if you have a yard where, say, your average is between 12 and 18, which, by the way, that's the average for the American Bully, and you could breed inside of your yard, it really doesn't matter if you got 2 18s going against each other, 12 to 18 going up against each other, because that koi 12 to 18 is not that high in dog terms to where you're going to really find prepotency. In this breed, I find that prepotency is found in the mid 30s and higher. So just wanted to throw that out there.
To deal with an alternate scenario there for that kind of thing. If you have a decent female, and or let's say you know somebody that has an amazing stud, and you're like, golly, I want to bring that stud's look or whatever attributes he has into my program.
That's right.
If you pick a female with too high of a COI, maybe it's as high or higher than his. Well, it doesn't matter what kind of badass he is. He's not going to show up in that litter like what you want. Because you picked a female with too high of a COI. She wasn't able to be that sponge, as he said, and soak up those traits. She actually countered that potency and pushed her own traits through in the litter.
Exactly. Now, for those of you that are interested in getting New Vet, I went ahead and put it on the screen. You could order it. Our ordering code is 513237. You get 13% off with auto ship, and that's going to cover basically your shipping. I recommend people get the New Vet, which is the green bottle, and New Joint DS double strength. Also, between now and December 25th, if you order, just keep in mind you're going to be part of the raffle. I'm going to be doing a raffle on Christmas Eve, and on the 25th. I'm going to be doing a quick raffle, and I'm going to pick a winner, and whoever the winner is, I'm going to cover you for an entire year of New Vet. So I just want to throw that out there. Let me see here, man. Let's continue on.
We've been using it for 2 years, I'd say here. And I feel so much more secure using it, especially when we're feeding kibble, because as you talked about everything being so denatured, which means they've cooked it at such a high temperature that all the stuff that's on the label that it claims
Yes,
is in the kibble,
it's no longer
it's been
valid.
cooked out of it.
Yeah.
And so you that new vet gives you a lot of those same things that you're really missing out on for your dog.
Yep. I totally agree with you. I got Kyle waving me down. What's up, Big H? Hollywood.
Hey, these QR codes are still good, huh?
Yes, absolutely. If you're interested in ordering, all you got to do is bring your phone, especially if you're watching us on a television, bring it to that. If you can see on the left, regular price $55.50. If you do auto ship, it comes down to $47.15. And New Joint DS, the price is a little bit higher, maybe $1 or $2, but it's very similar. It comes out to about anywhere between 61 and 52 cents a day. And I mean, you're getting a little bit of everything, to include even anti-cancer or cancer fighting, better yet, vitamins, minerals, and ingredients in there. So thanks for bringing that up, Kyle. Appreciate you.
You got it, bro.
All right, man. Yeah, Hollywood. We got Pinnacle saying, I'm looking at the inbreeding chromosomes chart now. How do you know what 1 through 38 is? How do you differentiate the codes? Thanks. Pinnacle, it's probably a good idea for you to go ahead and become a member. And it's probably a good idea for you to go ahead and tune in next week. Next week, we're going to start breaking down chromosomes and pathways. And look, I told Mike, it's not really hard, but it's very tedious, because it's going to show you where it's at in the chromosome, but it's also going to show you what it's connected to. And the being connected to is what makes that particular part of the chromosome be active or not active, right? So we're going to be getting into that coming up next week. Inserata says, I definitely used Embark in selection as far as traits. I tested all puppies. There you go. Makes sense. We got Rican Blues. Good evening. What's up, man? Adam Fields, what I missed was locking in a booth for Cinco de Mayo show. Look at that. Adam Fields, you're going to Cinco de Mayo all the way in Cali? Patron is looking good too, man. Number love. J.R. Malero says, the biggest thing about inbreeding is making sure you don't breed siblings, correct? J.R. Malero, here's the thing, man. I'm going to say this. A lot of the dogs that you're looking with very extreme features, I wouldn't put it past them that they were bred to a sibling.
Or to a parent.
Right. But sibling is the more powerful one.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it just is what it is. Now, if you were to get a pup, say, from an inbreeding, wouldn't you want to be able to see an embark? Like, don't you want to know that the puppy you're getting is not coming with all sorts of disease processes? Because once you let that cat out the bag into your yard, man, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Let me put it that way. Neffy Diaz says he breeds working line German Shepherds, man. Number love. Bama says, so I heard people debating on rather daddy to daughter is a line or inbreeding. What are your thoughts? Daddy to daughter is an inbreeding. But daddy to daughter, right, in my opinion, is probably not the. It's. I take it back. I take it back. It's probably
this is an XY thing, right? It's
yeah,
an
yeah.
XX
It's
versus an XY.
yes. It's probably a better inbreeding than son to mother, because son to mother doesn't have the buffer of that extra Y. You're
Right.
getting full blown double X's from mom coming down on that XY for that male. If she has any deleterious traits, it's game over. It's going to pop up. Whereas dad to daughter is not going to give you as many deleterious traits, because dad, he's only walking around with one X. The Y is just to determine the sex, right? So that's
he's not putting in anywhere near as much DNA as the mother.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Adam Field says dad to daughter is okay as long as you know what you're doing. I would not recommend son to mother. I agree 100%. Christina says we love New Vet. Give it daily here. Hey, we give it daily too. Along with New Joint DS, New Vet Plus. I'm telling you, man, this stuff is not only the multivitamin and minerals you need, it's also activating DNA you need. And I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't know that until was it yesterday or the day before, when I was doing some heavy research and I found that both copper and zinc are what activate it. So
we just call it New Vet, but we've never used one without the other here. We've my wife, she said New Vet. I guess we just call it all New Vet. But yeah, we've always used both.
Yes,
they complement each other very well.
Absolutely. They were made to complement each other. Gyra Grimm says they eat it like a snack, and it's true.
They do.
And yeah, in fact, this new puppy I got, she's already on New Vet. Now the way I get her into the cage is she knows that once she goes in, she's going to get a New Vet. So that's the snack, right? Kill two birds with one stone. RGB says we did a breeding and both male and female koi was the same at 12%. We always embark all our puppies in the litters. Puppies' kois are 9 to 11, but all puppies' phenotype is like dad. Again, when you're dealing with a koi that low, okay, of 12, right? That's why I was saying in this breed, 12 is considered low. So anything could have happened there because you don't have enough bars where, a dog is just dominating. I just showed you Fireball. And his DNA map is just not that dominant. Now, Fireball's a clean dog, and he threw clean dogs into females whose DNA was no higher than 18. Had I ever put him to a female whose DNA was, say, 25, he probably would have, they probably would have taken his lunch because he's not prepotent like that.
So for people that don't know, if you're wanting to know a kind of a range to try to go by there, ideally you would want the dog whose traits you're trying to incorporate to be three times what the other dog is, give or take. Is that not correct, Raul?
Well, 3 times would be great. Sometimes you can't do 3 times. Say the bitch is at 15. So it's nearly impossible. Yeah. You would need, right? So at least, if she's at 15.
To the top of the range of a good COI.
Yeah, you want at least a 27, 28, to really punch it in. Real quick, man, and Hollywood, have it ready, man. Pinnacle took my advice. He said, you know what, man, we got to make this happen. So hit it, Kyle.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
Do this every Monday at 7 p.CST. Next week, we're going to be hitting chromosome 18. We're going to be getting dirty and nasty with it. Be ready and be prepared because you're going to have to watch that live several times, guys. Oh, I'm letting you know. Yes, exactly, bro. It's blown my mind. It's blown Mike's mind. I mean, it's blown everybody's mind. And so we're going to start deciphering chromosome by chromosome and what their pathways are. That way, we can all breed better, smarter, and embrace the future before it gets here. Because I'm willing to bet that within the next 3 to 5 years, there's probably going to be somebody that's going to make an app that's going to line all this stuff up, man. And it might just be yours truly. I don't know yet. But, yeah, that's just how I see it coming. Kahiki says, been using New Vet for 2 years. Kahiki Sakata, nothing but love, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. We got Brian Coop saying, I crate train my puppy with new vet too. There you go, man. It's not punishment. They love it. They truly do. Shane Caress says the male will push through if koi is low enough, right? You don't know. Like when you're dealing with kois that are 12 or below, you're dealing with kois that are not pre-potent. And so you're rolling the dice, right? You say, for example, you have a female whose koi is 6 and the male, the koi is 12. You're rolling the dice. Say the female's 12 and he's 12. You're rolling the dice.
Because
say
neither one of them have a high amount of homozygosity.
Exactly.
It could fall either way. They could all look like mom, all look like dad, all look like both. It could be
like
half and half.
grandfather, like
Yeah.
cousin Bill,
Yeah.
like whatever, Uncle Fester. You don't know. You don't know. Now you grab a male with a koi of 27 and she's standing over here with 12. Now you're cooking, right? Now you're cooking. He's about to push himself into her, right? Miss Higginson says, this is great info. Thank you so much. Love the info. Breaking down the terms definitely helps and makes learning it all less intimidating. Absolutely. That's what we're here for. RGB says, also did a breeding with a female. Koi is 12% and males 27%. All puppies koi was 9 to 11. Phenotype was like mom. Okay, so let me tell you what happened there. First of all, what happened there, more likely than not, is hybrid vigor. Okay, when you outcrossed. What is also possible in that scenario, remember I said we're going to be talking about chromosome 18, and chromosome 18 has to do with bone, right? There's also certain chromosomes that have to do with skull and skull formation. If the dog has a high koi, but in that skull formation, in the genes that have to do with that, he's low, he's very heterozygotic, guess what? Mom is going to dominate. But I am willing to bet, you got to give these puppies time. But there are scenarios where the puppies look like mom when they're first born, but by the time they're 2 years, 2.5 years old, the daddy inside of them comes in. Okay, that's also another part of the equation that we haven't even began to talk about.
I love that comment.
Yeah, big balls McGraw 91. I'm a newcomer. What is koi and how do I find it and apply it? Okay, excellent question. Where do you find it? So let me go ahead and bring this in. Okay, so my friend, if you go ahead and look at the screen, you're going to see that no matter what dog, they have a number right here, right? Koi underneath the day you activated the embark. This right here, you cannot say you were to tell me, hey, Raul, I want to see Sunshine's DNA test, right? And I go ahead and ship it to you or let share it with you so you can see it. It's going to share all the information, but the only thing it's not going to share with you is the koi. I don't know if they did that by design. It almost seems like they did. So you have to make sure to ask the person to take a picture of this. But if you want to know where to get your dog's koi, you have to go and get your dog DNA tested. In this particular scenario, what I'm showing you guys is that we DNA test through Embark. That's the name of this company. Let me see when I go in if they, you go all the way down and then down here, usually, activate a kit, order a kit. So if I were to click order a kit, right, this is what you're going to get. And all it really is, if you take a look at this little swab, guys, you're going to swab this. Yeah, you're going to swab this inside the dog's cheek for about 30 seconds. And then you're going to flip it in and it's going to mix with that little liquid. And then you're going to ship it. And that's pretty much it. Now, for you that have litters, if you notice, one kit is $149. 2 to 10 goes down $20. And then more than that, between 11 and 20, you go down to $119. So
I noticed the same thing, Raul. Whenever like, so if you're buy a dog from a breeder and that breeder like yourself embarks all their dogs and you say, hey, send me my puppy I just bought's embark, it's not going to show the COI. You'll have to get it from the breeder unless you have an account with embark, and you and I have been through this, Raul.
Yes.
So in the case where I have QBN blood, I have two QBN dogs, and once I opened my own embark account, and I was set up with embark, Raul was able to actually transfer those
Transfer over.
dogs to my embark, and then, but only then could I actually see the COI that he could see.
Okay, Grow Logic 420 says Raul has changed his account to breeder, which I have. Breeder account on Embark. His profile shows differently than a regular user. Well, sorry guys, I'm just showing you, I guess, what I can. My apologies if yours is showing up a little bit different. Yeah, we can't see. And then Marie says, how much different in koi do the mother and father of the litter need to have in order to see its look get pushed again?
He probably asked that before
Yeah,
we got to it.
again, but let me just make sure again, Maurice, if the higher the male or female, you want the lower the opposite sex. Now, for me, if you're at 10, say you have a male that's at 10 and you're trying to absorb the female and the female is at 25, that's great. That's a good breeding. He should be able to. He's just a bridge dog. He's just there to, hey, I'm just here, but it's all her. You know, she's pushing herself through.
Close as you can to 3 times without being too high.
Right. Without it being too high. Grow Logic says that's why they can't see koi. Ah, okay.
Oh, I get it now.
So they don't get koi. Well, let me show Grow Logic. Thank you so much. I want to show you guys something here real quick. Maybe you're able to access the koi, but there's a different way to access it. So let's say, for example, I clicked on my girl Sunshine and I'm not able to see koi like I just saw.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, my bad. Let me go ahead and bring it up. My apologies, man. I thought you can't see it right now.
I can see it, but I can't see the different dogs if you're on the dogs yet.
No, I'm not. I had clicked out of there. Let me go back and show you. So, okay, never mind. I know what happened. I'm clicking on the wrong one. You can see it now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My apologies. All right. So, say I'm not able to see koi here. Okay. What I would do is I would click on view summary and it's going to take you here. And then I would click on health. And then I would come here to where it says genetic diversity. And then you click on that. And then you should be able to get koi here.
Yeah, where the chart's at.
Yeah, it's going to show you, like my girl Aruba here, for example, as far as our breed, she falls right here, right? The higher the koi, if you notice, the lower the bars are going to be getting, right? So if you guys have not been able to access koi like I have, try doing it this way. It's very possible that you're going to be able to see it, okay? Let me see here real quick. RGB says 27% is the peak. I'm not sure what you mean by that, RGB.
I think he's saying like the highest point that's safe to go to for COI, and RGB, that is true, give or take a point with the XL. But when you get in some of the smaller bully breeds, as I said,
it changes.
It actually can go a lot higher.
It can go a lot higher. That is correct. Yeah, 27 is the breaking point. If you have koi of 28, and the higher you go, it's considered high, and then 27 down, you start coming low. Grow Logic says you can still see it, but you have to locate it. I just forgot how, because my account is now breeder as well. Okay, good deal, man. Rican says, or you can get in contact with Jerry James. You definitely can, man. Shane Caress says, where do king tails come from? Okay, Shane Caress, king tails comes from, more than anything, the developmental stage of the mesoderm. And also, if you have a dog that's a carrier of it and you decide to inbreed it, it is at that point where the dog is then going to show full-blown kink tail. Because the eyes, the heart, and the kidneys are made in the same mesoderm in that developmental stage, some breeders will tell you, oh, I could breed out a kink tail. And they're right. You probably can, but you're probably trading it for something going on with the eyes, something going on with the kidneys, or something going on with the heart.
That's another term there that we can further elaborate. When they say they're breeding it out, you can't breed it out. You can only move it.
Right.
So
Interchange it.
Even if it's
Yes.
not in the tail, it still exists in the mesoderm. So it's either in the heart or the kidneys or somewhere else. It's gonna be there still, and that's a very dangerous thing, man. I highly recommend if somebody has puppies with kink tails or dogs with kink tails that they don't continue to use those to breed, because
Yeah.
you will have those health issues somewhere, even if you can't see them.
Yep. Yeah, you'll notice you'll have a litter full of puppies with a heart murmur, and they're born with a stage 1 heart murmur. Now, mind you, stage 1 is not the end of the world, guys. There are some pups that will be born with a stage 1 and it'll clear, or even if it didn't clear, a stage 1 heart murmur is not the worst in the world. What can become a problem is you have all these puppies that are born with a stage 1 heart murmur, and by the time they're 6 months old, they have a stage 2.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's showing you that it's progressing pretty fast.
Stage 1 can even be dietary, right?
It can be caused by dietary. It's funny you say that. I think I was talking to you about it. I had a guy, he bought a pup from me, and
Long time ago.
a long time ago, man. And as soon as the pup was about 6 months, he wasn't even 6 months yet. He could have been 5 months and 3 weeks old. Who knows? He was really close to it. He gives me a call. He says, that I sold him a dog with a heart murmur. Mind you, took the pups to the vets. They didn't have a heart murmur. Plus, you have 72 hours from when you buy from me to take the pup to a vet. He took a pup to his own vet, and there was no heart murmur. It turns out he was feeding the pups grain-free. And for one reason or another, it caused the murmur. How do we know this? Now I can tell you in retrospect. First of all, it was just a level 1 heart murmur. He had me talk to his vet and this and that, because all of a sudden he felt like I had scammed him or something. I'm like, dude, I'll talk to your vet. Put him on. Let's have a conversation, bro. I'm like, dude, you did a test on him, on the pup. It didn't have a heart. Yeah, no, it didn't have a heart. Okay. Now it's starting to show up, and he's got the pup on grain free. If the pup is on grain free, why don't we put him back on food with grain, and let's go ahead and retest in 2 or 3 months. Lo and behold, he went ahead and did that, and the murmur cleared. What do you know, right? So a lot of times ignorance will be the driving force behind a mistake. So make sure that whatever you're going to be putting your pups on, you consult with your breeders that are out here, and they're selling you dogs for 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, however many thousands you're paying for. They should be able to answer your call and talk to you and give you information, right? There's one of the reasons why QBN has set themselves apart. Once you buy from me, you could ask Mike over here. Anytime he's had any issues, just go ahead and text me or give me a call, or we're going to have a conversation for a lifetime, bro. And that's
one of the
way
benefits
it
of being
should be.
part of the QBN family, man. Once you get in, I mean, you got a dog, you're tapped into the network. Then you can reach out, man. If you have any problems, you can get answers.
Absolutely, man. I got Kyle waving me down. What you got, bro?
Okay, so our pet quality dog that we had her embark. This is a normal embark,
Sky,
not
okay.
breeders. Yeah, if you go down, if you see, this is how it looks now. But if you go down to her health right here,
right,
it'll come up. Let's see, right past all. There's no genetic. Look, her genetic diversity, coefficient
7%
inbreeding.
koi. Yeah, she got 7% koi. There you
So
go.
that's where a normal person without the breeding thing would find it at. For anybody looking and they can't find it.
Excellent. Kyle, I'm seeing some
Yes,
leadership qualities in you, man.
Hey, I'm just doing my thing back here, man. Looking stuff up, researching, watching.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Kahiki says, when I did my inbreeding, line breeding with my half-sister, half-brother, the pups took more of the mother's side as far as structure. Both kois were close in range. Well, if you did a half brother, half sister breeding, I imagine that they were half brother, half sister on the mother's side in order for, the mom's look to come through. Let me go through these quick, man. JR Malero. So one of JR, hold up, man. You need to become a member, bud. I got Kyle starring comments over here on non-members, man. All right. So if one of a pup, if one of a pups in a litter has a king tail, would you say be safe and stay away from all pups in the litter? Man, JR, that's an excellent question, man.
That is a good question.
That's why you would want a breeder that is embarking the entire litter. And then I would just tell the breeder, hey, man, can I take a look at several other pups? And then if you're seeing heart issues coming up or renal issues, then you get your answer, man. Shane Caress says, I had a litter of 6. One came out with a king tail. Would any of the rest be at risk in any other way? Well, Shane, again, you need to embark. I can't answer it. I can't answer it because maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know.
It could have turned up in different ways in different pups, but it also could have not turned up at all. You just no way to tell without an embark.
There's no way to tell, man. Brian Cooper, what a good price I should start my stud fees for. Brian Cooper, I always say you should start low, get some productions out there. That's probably the more important thing. You really want to know what your dog can do. And then after a year, you can point at the puppies it's produced and people can see what your dog did. You see what I mean?
A low range would be somewhere between, maybe 1,500, 1,000 to 2,000 to 2,500, somewhere in there, depending on whether you've had any productions at all or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe you start off with a pup back or something like that.
Yeah, I would start out just low, man. Just get the productions out there, get his best female that you could get him into. Chuy Sanchez says, how important are outcrosses to you guys? Outcrosses is a tool that, in my opinion, is as important as line breeding and inbreeding. You just got to know when to use it. But they're all, I feel like they all carry the same importance. George Barron says, I appreciate all this knowledge, fellas. Great live tonight. You got it, man. Number love, RGB. But also, even if you genetic test the puppies, there's always that 30% genetics we as breeders don't have control of. Mother Nature does this thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's the deal. A lot of people that are getting into breeding and are getting into the bully world, you see a puppy, you like a puppy, and you're trying to get in, it's $5,000. Listen, man, $5,000 nowadays that's nothing to just sneeze at. Okay, especially with inflation going on, and it's not easy to gather up $5,000. Would you not want to get as much assurance possible? Now, listen, there's no such thing as 100% assurance, but I will say the more information, the more good information you have, the better choice you're going to make. Would you not want to buy from a breeder that's embark testing more than one that isn't? Because the one that isn't, you don't know what the grandparent died from, if the dad died or any of that situation. You really don't know what they died from. They would never tell you because it's going to cost them money. They'd be stupid enough to tell you. There's a puppy that has a king tail. You don't know if they sold that as a pet home and you're showing up to a litter of 8 pups, but it was really 9. They got rid of the one with the king tail. So now you can only go off of the breeder's word. And that's all you got. But if that breeder's embarking every single pup in the litter, you can say, hey, Raul, let me see my pup and let me see the other 2 males, or let me see the entire litter or whatever. And here it is, bro. Or you can go.
This is why we promote it like we do, because we're not tied to embark, but the fact of the matter is it invokes a level of transparency that you don't have without it. And the quicker that this becomes popular in the bully community, the sooner that some of these big breeders, a lot of times it is the big breeders that have been hiding things and cutting corners and doing things they shouldn't be doing. It kind of puts them out because they can no longer hide those things. And so
yes.
It is the future.
Regan Blues is asking a good question. Where in embark can you find king tails? Regan Blues, right now, I can't tell you. I can tell you that kink tails are made in the mesoderm because the tail is part of the spine, and the spine and the nervous system is made in the mesoderm along with the eyes, the heart, and the kidneys. All right, that's the information we currently have. Now, like I made mention, you could breed out of a kink tail, but because you're going to end up with issues with either eyes, heart, or kidneys, that you're able to see and embark. So that's where I'm at right now. Once I find the information as to what chromosome you could go to find kink tails, I will let everybody and their mother know. And this community is just gonna, I'm pretty sure they're gonna, a lot of people are gonna be shaking in their boots. I could almost guarantee that. Adam says dogs have a lot more genetic diversity than human beings. Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Hollywood?
Hey, I'm wondering, wouldn't that show up somewhere in the health side of things? If, let's say, one of the dogs had a kink tail, but the other ones had other issues going on the inside.
The heart, the kidneys, and the eyes, right now, they can. But the kink tail, it's the puppy with the kink tail itself. Unless
I get it. But if you have, let's say you have a litter and one of them has a kink tail, but you embark the whole litter, what you probably see in the embark of the other ones, hey, this one's got this problem, this one's got this problem. Oh, well, no wonder this one's got a kink tail. That's not that's the lesser of all of it, but I wouldn't breed any of that from that litter.
Right. Me personally,
I just stay away from it.
Me personally, bro, if I see a pup with a kink tail, I really want to look at the breeder and hear what type of BS he's going to throw at me. Really, because at that point, anything that comes out of his mouth that is not genetically tested, you just don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, good, bad,
because they could have the next breeding not have any kink tails, but other stuff going on.
Or
if that one is passing that on.
Pup that came out of there without a kink tail could turn right back around and have half of a litter with a kink tail. You don't know.
Or something else going on. Yeah, so it's best just to not even take the risk.
That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. Shane Caress says, thinking the mom has to go to stud had different dams that those litters came out with kink tails. You can also have a particular, that's another good thing about genetic testing, but also, use your common sense. If you have a stud that had a kink tail with one of your females, he bred to another female and there were pups with kink tails, and obviously that's coming from him. You want to stay as far away from that as possible, man. Thank you, Bremen Bulls. Number love. RGB says we test even the pet home. We acquired a female last year with a very small kink on the tip of the tail. After her genetic test results came back clear and clean, we decided to let her go. Yeah, absolutely. The kink tail itself right now, they don't have something that pops up for it. But right now I'm researching on skeletal issues. I know sooner than later, I'm probably going to hit the spine. And I just know that if they've come across with any information about kink tails, I'll be able to forward that and be able to share that with you guys. But as of right now, man, let me bring my guy from the back. And let's start this off the right way, man. We're welcoming in Michael Higginson. Nothing but love, man. Good first live, bro. How do you feel, Mike? How do you feel?
I feel great, man. I feel right at home. I've been on here a long time, even when I'm not on here. So it's good. It's good to get to talk dogs with y'all and break down some of these things, man. Some of these terms. I love it.
Well, man, we couldn't be any happier to have you here on board with us. Let me start this off with Hollywood.
It's your boy Hollywood Holland, your boy in the back of the queue, and we're catching you on the next one.
Michael Higginson.
It's Michael Higginson with Creekbank Kennel, man. Really enjoyed y'all tonight. Y'all tune in next week. We got some big things going on. See y'all next time.
There you go, man. Number love. Hey, you already know, man. We do this every Monday at 7 p. CST. It's been Raul from the queue, catching you on the next one. And don't leave, because we about to drop, you already know, the Blueberry Blues.
Like blue eyes in a sea of blue, I can't stop thinking about you. way you stand, the way you do you. Blueberry motherfucker, you. That's right, blueberry motherfucker, you. You act like you own the place. In the Cuban yard, you're far away. Blueberry motherfucker, you. Saving my nickels and dimes, taking my time so I can get my bone and structure from blueberry motherfucker, you. I know you're gonna produce. I got to save up, I gotta invest in you. Blueberry motherfucker, you. You are the best.